All right. So I decided to want to do a video that talks a little more in depth about like my background with writing and really keep it writing focused. And I guess to just a little bit more credibility to myself because I understand it's very strange that like I'm sitting in front of a camera talking to people over the internet that I probably will never meet or maybe have very brief interactions of and giving like advice on screenwriting on and input on how to be a better writer. And if you look me up, I have like some credits of like short films, a feature film. Um, there's stuff that isn't there because it never got made, feature length screenplays that I've written. And so it's like, oh, well, what qualifies you to give me advice? I mean, the same for me, it's like nothing really, because the reality of screenwriting is it's both objective and equally subjective. So I know people that have no desire to pursue writing as like a career that are very intuitive and intelligent with writing, and I wouldn't pass up advice from them ever. I may not agree with their advice all the time, but they understand and know the craft very well. I can confidently say I understand the craft well enough to where I can give advice, give input, and really just try to help people. To give some background a little bit before I go into the story of like my whole like origin, so to speak, is that I kind of naturally fell into doing workshops and private one-on-one screenwriting like consultations because I was friends with producers and I became like real, like actual friends with them. And a lot of them really liked my writing and they felt that I knew what I was doing. So when they would get scripts that they really liked or they would meet writers that they wanted to work with, they would like connect me with them and say, hey, talk to this person and if you can, read their screenplay and just like have like a powwow about it and try to elevate it. And I would get a lot of feedback from those writers, through the producers saying like they really like got a lot out of your workshop or your consultation with them. Like they really saw where they can improve their script and everything. So I realized that I had a knack for it. And I realized a big part of it is because education wise, I am very qualified for that. And so we'll kind of start there. I'll go even farther back. So I'm going to actually get started on like me and a little bit more about me. Obviously, I titled this My Hollywood Story just for purely marketing things. But I think a lot of the stuff before I'm going to tell you is more exciting. But anyways, let me get to it and stop rambling. As like a kid, I actually I won a pretty big competition for poetry. So early on, I already had like a natural gift for writing. And then in elementary again, I got published twice. My mom still has the book publication that I have. And then in high school, I just got really into sports, but I was still a very big like hip hop fan and movie fan. So at one point I was like, I think I want to rap. And so I would write lyrics a lot. And I got really like studious about rap lyrics. Like I listened to Big L, Notorious B.I.G., a lot of my friends, like my friend Isaac and Armando, would introduce me to other rappers that were more that I wasn't too much aware of. My friend Gabe was a big hip hop fan, so I would really study like lyricism and how they create patterns and inner rhyme schemes and all of that. So it reinvigorated my love for writing in a different way. And then obviously really into movies, but wasn't really thinking too much about like being a movie writer. It was just like, oh, movies are cool. Like that's something that'd be awesome if I was to ever do something like that. So after high school, I went to college on a scholarship for track and cross country. And then after a year there, it was in Lindenwood University, I joined their video production degree program. which was fun but fucking corny because, or not corny, but stupid because they had limited equipment and it was old, dated equipment. So oftentimes, half the time, I couldn't even use the equipment, and the other half the time, it was like dated equipment. But it was still fun. Um, that was kind of like my first foray. Fuck, I can't speak right now. Into like filmmaking. I did a music video. I did like a little short film for class, and it was fun to kind of have the early inklings of learning how to like just figure it out. So I kind of thought my professor was a dickhead, but I understand now looking back, like when I told him like, hey man, I've tried to rent equipment out 4 times and it's always gone. And this thing is due in 2 days. I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, it's not my problem. Dickhead thing to say, but also I get it. It's like in filmmaking, that's the way it is. So, I do think he was being a fucking asshole, but he inadvertently did also teach me a little bit there. After that, I went to Texas Tech, and I started rethinking my whole like idea of like what I enjoy what I enjoy doing, my passion, and it was writing. I reconnected with my friend Armando at the time. It was just we graduated high school and lost touch, but I think he emailed me or texted me. He was like, "Hey man, how's it going? I haven't talked to you in a long time." So we started talking about movies, and part of that was him like basically saying like, I really want to make movies and this is what I've been thinking about. So I said, okay, cool, like me too, like let's make a movie. Like that's how young and just naive in a very good way that we were. So I decided, well, I don't really know how to write a movie, so I want to write movies, so I'll do English literature and creative writing. That was the closest thing. There was no like film program at Texas Tech. So I took that and I really lucked out. I had some amazing professors. There's a professor named Dennis Covington. He was a National Book Award finalist for his book like Snakes on Sand Mountain. It's a nonfiction. Then Mark Richard was a Hemingway Pen Award winner, or a Pen Hemingway Award, I can't remember, for I think it's Ice at the Bottom of the Lake or something like that. Two phenomenal writer professors with legit credibility behind them, on top of other professors that were like really credentialed out in terms of their field of study. Like we did one was metaphysical poetry, and my teacher for that, I think her name was Mrs. Crowley, fucking awesome teacher. I had a senior studies in Shakespeare, studied Shakespeare till like my fucking bone marrow rotted. Can't remember a goddamn thing out of it because I just like overloaded with Shakespeare information. So, but in that class, I really enjoyed it. And we learned not just sort of the skills and development of writing. I had some my classes, I was so lucky to have classmates that were just vastly superior writers. I was maybe middle of the pack, but everybody was so fucking good. It was not, I was never jealous or anything. I was like super excited because I'm like it just motivated me to work that much harder as a writer. And not only did we like obviously develop and learn the craft of writing, we learned the history, like I guess you could say, like became students of writing to an extent, like really understood like the history, the purpose, the ethereal aspect, the practical aspect. But we also learned how to like be skillful in terms of feedback, critique, studying like other people's writing and understanding how to guide people into directions to improve their writing. And I learned really quickly, most people don't know how to critique writing, don't know how to give feedback. I think the biggest giveaway of when somebody doesn't know how to get is when they say, oh, just rip my thing apart, or I'm going to rip apart your thing to really show you. Like, that was like not the, like I learned so quickly in college, especially from like my professors, like that is actually the most amateur way to give writing because you're not really focusing on the intricate aspects of what's going on in the writing. It's not about if the writing's good. It's not about if the writing's bad. It's like, what is the writer trying to accomplish and how do we get there? Are they very far off? If they're very far off, which would be considered bad writing, how do we get them closer? If they're on the money, how do we keep them there so that they don't stray away? And it was very, very eye-opening. One of the things that they used to do in class is, you would write a short story, submit it, everybody would read it. Obviously, you're reading other people's short stories as well. And they would, obviously, if you had 20 kids in the class, you would only have to read 3. And then the next class, you'd have to read the next 3, blah, blah, blah. And everybody would go and give their critiques. And part of the grade was how well you gave a critique. You couldn't say this was, you could compliment, but they was like, let's try to avoid complimenting in a way that's just a baseless compliment. Like if you're complimenting something, explain why it works. So that's the other thing to it. Don't just be like, oh, I love this. No, like, why do you love it? Like, what makes it so great and all that stuff. And then also it's like things that aren't connecting with you. Okay, why is this not connecting with you? It's not about saying, oh, this is horrible, this is bad, this is just shitty. It's really like dissecting everything written. And every classmate would go and just dissect, not rip apart, dissect your short story. And you couldn't say like, oh, well, I meant to do this, or you didn't understand. No, it was like, listen to everything they're saying, take notes, and then go on your short story and like mark it up with their critique. And afterwards, you couldn't say anything, you couldn't defend it, nothing. And then over time, you learn how also like to defend your work. Like sometimes not everybody's going to get it. That was a thing people said, like, you don't have to accept all feedback and you can defend your work. And if you have a really good reason to defend what the content is, then it actually shows that you put some thought into it. And maybe they're just not getting it or not put it, but it's like you can figure out from there whether you want to change it or not. So that was really eye-opening. And during this time, I got connected with some people like actors and other filmmakers in Lubbock, Texas, which is where Texas Tech is at. And we just started making short films. And I wrote a feature-length screenplay, which was like 80 pages. Me and my friend Armando and I, if you want to be proper. And we made this movie that was like, I am like super proud of it. If you were to just watch it, like this is just so amateur. There's a couple of moments in there that are fucking great. Like I was like, wow, like you would have thought a real filmmaker made this at the time. But it was like a really awesome experience to do that, to make short films, to like work the camera, to help with some writing, to do all of that. And so that was kind of like the best of both worlds. I was getting like very formal education on the craft of like writing, like pure writing, and then also like translating that into screenwriting and doing short films and doing my little loving shitty independent feature and meeting actors some of which I'm still really close friends with today. And I did all of that. And then afterwards, towards the end of the year, like my senior year, I talked to my professor, Mark Richard, and he asked me, like, what do you want to do? Being are you going to teach? Are you going to do? And I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. And I was like, honestly, like, I would like to make movies. I would like to figure out a way to make money as a writer, like, and I could just kind of figure it out between then. I'm not trying to be rich. I just want to like continue to do this. And he goes, okay, well, move either to New York or LA and just be a freelance writer and just kind of figure it out. Like there's really nothing I can tell you beyond that. So I said, cool. 6 months later, after that, I basically dropped out of school, and I didn't really drop out. I just didn't go back. And I fucking moved to LA. While I was in LA, I was technically homeless. I, slept in my car. I slept on random couches. I slept in a fucking warehouse near Skid Row. I lived with my cousin for a little bit. My cousin's a fucking wild boy, and so I couldn't really live with him that long. But I really, really slummed it out. And during that time that I slummed it out, I would like find jobs online to write screenplays, to do any type of writing job. I would build movie sets. I would barely make enough money to like, just like kind of survive. I don't want to say survive, but like, survive. But it was something that like obviously I would never go through that again. I would never put myself in that position again, but it was like a really great thing because I actually met some really great people through that are still friends with me today and that I'm still like really thankful for. And we made some short films during that time as well. And so during that time that I was like slumming it and basically like just a mess, like just physically because I really wasn't showering and I was, like I said, like homeless. But during that time, I was connected with this producer and we got a script at Paramount. And Paramount was very interested in this script that we did because we had a Chinese producer, this is back in 2012, and a Chinese financier who was interested in the project and verbally committed. And Paramount verbally committed to this project as well. And at this time, Chinese American productions were like a really on the cusp of becoming a really big thing. And we got to the point, my pitch meeting happened at, I'm not going to say their names because it's just whatever, like, but somebody who was very much involved in the movie Boondock Saints, which everybody knows was a massive cult classic. And then somebody else at Paramount who, if you were in Hollywood at the time, they did some things in Hollywood that were a big deal, like building wise. And they were like, involved with Paramount very heavily at the time. I did a pitch meeting at the Boondock Saints guy's house in Hollywood Hills, which I got connected through my wild ass cousin, because he's crazy and he knows everybody. And I had a pitch there. And the pitch, I was nervous as fuck, but I was able to do it. And it was kind of funny too, because the main guy, I'll call them John and Joe. John's the Boondock Saints guy and Joe's the Paramount guy. Joe kept being like, all right, I get it. Move on, move to the next thing. And then John was just sitting there smoking weed. And my cousin and him were smoking weed. And it was just, this guy was like kind of rushing me through a pitch. And I think as nervous as I was, I didn't really like sweat it. It was like, okay, I'll just go to the next thing. And so afterwards, John and Joe talked for a little bit. And then Joe came up to me and I was like, well, I have a copy of the script, because he was like, email me the script. And I said, I have a copy. And he grabbed a copy and he goes, wow, I haven't seen a copy of a script in years. And he's like, and he took it with him. And then after that, it was like some meetings. I got connected with not an agent per se, but somebody who was like agent proxy to an agent. I worked with him for a little bit on the script, and he gave me a lot of really, really good advice on screenwriting and just like the business aspect of it and working the game, so to speak. And we got to a point where there was an initial agreement for, basically they were going to greenlight the project. I'll put it that way. And all they had to do was get this one meeting together to get everybody to agree to like all these terms. And it was like the Chinese financier, the producer I was connected with, and then other lawyers and stuff. And it just didn't work out. It just did not work out. Nobody was on the same page. And also on top of that, there was a no-show. There was just like everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then it just fell apart shortly after that. And I lost my mind a little bit because I was just like so exhausted, depleted, creatively, mentally, physically, that we had another opportunity to actually get approved for like a 1.5 million, like I think it's like a bridge fund where they will provide a certain amount of money, a financing company, to get the ball rolling to get the rest of the money. And we went through like all these hoops with them, got all these approvals, and then like the final approval, they just kind of like kicked us in the balls, like, yeah, nah, we're not going to approve it after all, even though you did all these things that we gave an approval on. And so that was kind of like the blow to me. I was like, like I fucking lost it. And I was like, I'm fucking done with this shit. So I quit that whole thing and I just went back to writing scripts. And so over the course, this is like 2012, 2013, over the next 3, 4 years, I kind of went on like a really good run where I had two, three short films that won awards, like multiple awards. And obviously, like film festivals, like some awards matter than others. Other awards don't really matter. Um, but one that I co-wrote, developed the script, and produced, we won a Comic-Con competition, like a big one in Philadelphia. Then we went to the main one in Atlanta, where it was a Comic-Con for Walking Dead, which I don't know. I don't think they still have those anymore, but big. It was actually a big deal, and we were like the premier showcase because we won in Philadelphia. So they showed us at the main one in Atlanta, where cast members of The Walking Dead were there. There was something like my other producer actually flew down to Atlanta to like present the film, and it was presented with the winners from the other major cities. Like Philadelphia was us, New York, I think San Diego was another one. And there was like 5 or 6 major cities that other films had won, and a couple of them were from studios. Like Universal Studios had a short film, a horror film that was like a proof of concept that won. And when we won in Philly, we actually beat out another studio that had a proof of concept short film that we beat them. And we went, my producer went, who's also one of my really good friends, Mike, and he said that everybody, and he took a selfie, and there was like hundreds of people at this screening. It was insane. And we screened it. Everybody applauded. Everybody liked it. And then he said afterwards, when he was out at the Comic-Con doing having his fun, he said like a lot of people came and were like, we really liked your movie. Like your short film was the best one out of the group. And so that was very fulfilling. Another short film that I did won tons of awards, and the director who directed it, it won an award at a particularly decent sized film festival, and it caught the attention of a director, one of the festival directors at Atlanta Film Fest, which is a big festival. And they invited us to show our film there out of competition. It was just a showcase. It was shown there. My friend, the director, who became a friend of mine, said that a lot of people really loved it. A couple of writers for Star Trek said that they really liked the writing, which was a big fucking deal for me. And then I did a feature film, which got into like 2 film festivals, but we screened it in North Hollywood at the Lamley, and it was only about 30 people that showed up. But there was an agent there that really complimented me, and actually was interested in representing me at one point, but that didn't work out, as most things do in the industry. But I was really like, it felt really good for this person who had no reason to come up to me after my movie screen, and say anything to me. He could have just left. In fact, he could have left after the first 20 minutes, because the first 20 minutes of my movie is really fucking boring. And then it picks up a lot after that. But he actually he found me and was like, "Are you the director?" Because, other friends and people of friends are coming up and saying, "Oh, good job," this and that. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I really liked it. Like, I was very, very pleasantly surprised." And he's like, "You did a lot of things that were really, really like bold and creative." And I was really impressed. And he's like, and he asked me if I wrote it, and I said, yes, I wrote it. And so, yeah, then obviously I talked to him a little bit for about a month, but nothing came of it. So that's about 2016 or so. After that, I started getting more work, helping friend producers and doing work for hire jobs, writing screenplays, feature-length screenplays. Some of them were for fucking producers that were cosplaying as producers and wasting my fucking time. And then I also had the privilege of working with like people that were really producing, like they were really like about it. And I, friends with them as well, and still keep in touch with them from time to time. And that was a really great experience, because it was like, these movies never got made. But it was like the process of like oh, we're really starting from like the bottom of the bottom of the bottom here. Um, One of the producers I wrote two screenplays for, they were able to get another script that they had written that wasn't written by me made into a film, and they almost sold it, but they couldn't because they got lowballed, and so right now they're trying to like reinvigorate that, sell that, and then hopefully get my scripts made at some point. So, and in between all that, I did a lot of internet stuff like copy and content. I did some like social media marketing. I did some social media management. I did a lot of freelance stuff, and I kind of like strayed away from like doing more personal projects. And then 2018, 2019, but more like 2019 going into 2020, I was able to get back into doing more personal projects, but also starting to do like the workshopping stuff. And I was doing some of that inadvertently before, but this is where I really started to get more like consistently through producer friends, like, hey, I have a script. Can you like, read it and tell me what you think and like really break it down? Can you meet with this writer that I'm working with on this script? Can you like do all these things? And I was like, yeah, because I genuinely, I love writing. I just love writing and really getting down to like the nitty gritty of it. And then obviously the pandemic happened. I was working at a rehab. I wasn't at the rehab. I was working there. And around 2021, going into that, I was like, I've been doing these workshop stuff. I don't really want to do writing for hire anymore. I don't want to freelance anymore. I don't want to be like trying to like sell scripts to studios. I kind of just want to focus on writing scripts that I want to write. If somebody wants to hire me and give me a bunch of money, or there's potential for a bunch of money, I might take it, which I did recently. But for the most part, I just want to write my own screenplays, hopefully get something made, maybe even sell something, who knows. But I really enjoy working with writers. And so in 2021, I decided to start this like writing studio, and it was basically just a fucking Instagram page. And I was going nowhere with it. Regardless of how much I tried, it was like, when you start something new, like you get, like you're pretty much climbing up a wall straight up with like no climbing material. It's very, very difficult. I had like a sit down with one person. I think I did like one workshop. I can't remember, over the course of like several months. And during that time in 2021 was like April, May, when I started this. Again, it was just like an Instagram page. I think I may have had like a very simple website. I can't remember. But during that time as well, to kind of take a few months back in like 2020, like November, December, and this is more like personal stuff here. I had been having conversations with my mom and a little bit with my friends, but primarily my mom, about coming home for like an extended period of time, because like my dad was like, his health was not great. And so my mom was like, I think it would be really good for you to like generally like just come down for like 2 weeks to a month and like just be around your dad, and like being around him I think she was like, I think that'll help. So like November, December, it was like, okay, yeah, I can definitely do that. I had a bunch of money fucking saved, just from freelance stuff, from working at, the mental health rehab place and doing overtime. I was taking a lot of overtime so I could bulk up my fucking savings even more. I was taking freelance jobs that I didn't want to take so I can really just have that money so that I could take that time. And then around January, I talked to some friends as well. And I had already been wanting to quit my job. I had been wanting to take a break from like working, like in general, like having like a day job and all that. And I also wanted to take a break from fucking capitalism, if you want to say that. So I don't know, like in December, January, basically, my mom and I decided, you know what's stopping you from just coming here for like a full summer? Like, it doesn't have to be technically like in the summer, but like 2 to 3 months. Like, come spend like 2 to 3 months and like really just be at home, be with your dad, and just be there with, like, my dad doesn't need me to do anything except be there, because my mom's working, he's by himself, his health is not great, and just having like his son or just one of his kids there would just be like helpful. And my mom was like, what's stopping you from doing that? And like, you can do that. And then, you know, you don't have to worry so much about like just coming home every holiday or whatever. Just spend time at home, like take a break, you know? And so like January 2021, I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Like, fuck it. Why not? I have the money saved and all of that. So now 2021, when I start in April, May, the writing studio, I go home in July, I believe, July 3rd, for a wedding. And then from the wedding, I drove home and I spent the next 3 months at home. And during that time that I was there, um, I really, really like started to like, it was probably one of the best decisions I made, because one, my dad really did need, it was really like helpful for my dad because he was like, his health was not great. And you know, obviously like, I do think it was, if I hadn't have done that, I think his health would have gotten worse. And a lot of it was like mental health stuff, like severe depression and everything. But being there was like really great. It also allowed me to like spend more time with my friends and be around. I have friends in LA, but they're awesome. But of course, they're all doing their own thing. Like they're all like, a lot of them are in the film business and they're constantly working to that. So to have like go back to like my childhood friends and spend time with them and like have like really good conversations with them and utilize that 3 months down there to like kind of like feel back like I'm in my early 20s, like talking about like my dreams and their dreams and what they want me to do and like the success that they can see me having and the success that I can see them having. It was really, really just like a great thing to be around. And so when I came back in October, it was like, one, I had been out of work. You know, I quit my job in like March, April. And so I hadn't really worked like a job for almost 7, 8 months. And I still had some savings. And so it was just like getting back and kind of slowly chipping away at this writing studio stuff and writing some of my, you know, some of my own scripts. And at the time I got a contract to write a screenplay based on somebody's life. And I spent like a year writing that story. And this was in 2022. I finished it. And over that time, I slowly built this writing studio. I've done a lot of workshops with people. I've done a lot of sit downs. I've built the website to something a little bit more presentable. I'm doing the YouTube stuff, which it's not to be a YouTube influencer. It's to just to put information out there for people to find and hopefully they can help improve. And it's also like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to like, I may not do the YouTube thing forever. I may get to a point where I can have like an actual brick and mortar location and people can come and I have my merchandise and they can go in the back and we can do workshops and we can do other things. And I won't have to do really any YouTube videos except for maybe group workshops where I have dozens of people there and we can stream it and put it online, or I can have lectures of other writers that are more successful than me to come. So it's like, I'm just trying to figure it out. And I think that's one of the things like 2 years down the line, it's very like eye-opening to me how much progress I've made and how satisfied I am with the little progress I've made. Cause it's like, I do TikToks now. And it's like, I feel so embarrassed, like sitting in front of the camera, but like the TikToks, I'll get 10, 15 likes, 4 or 5 people favoriting the TikTok. So people actually watch it and be like, this is very useful. I'm going to save it. These YouTube videos, I mean, the algorithm is the algorithm. I'll get 20 views, 50 views. One I had like 200 some views. And I'll get comments like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. I have my friend Armando that always comments on my shit, which is fucking awesome. You know, my girlfriend always comments on my TikToks, and it's like, that's very meaningful to me. But it's also like when you get the strangers who send me an email like, hey, on this video, you said this, I'm kind of wondering what you meant by that. Or people commenting on the videos, the very few occasions, like saying, hey, I really like this. Like, that is all like very like fulfilling to me. And so like now I'm at a place now where, I'm going to get a temporary limited office for next year. I'm going to be able to like put that out there and hopefully can get some people to come by and be like, hey, let's have a sit down at this place. Let's make it feel more real. Get to a point where I have a little bit more, not consistency, but just more focused in on these videos. I'm always going to leave my most recent batch for the last year of YouTube videos up. I had some before that were fucking awful, so I took them down. But I want to get to a place where maybe I only have to put out a video like once every couple months, and it's like a banger, and like thousands of people watch it because they know when I'm putting out a video, it is like something worth watching, and they're going to get a lot out of it. So, and I'm still trying to figure out, like, maybe I might not do these types of videos all the time. I might shift completely, but I think the main thing is, if there's one thing to like learn from all of this, is how far you can get just by continuing to do. So many times I've gotten so close to like making it, right? And it can be very discouraging to not do that. And even with like this studio, I started in 2021. From 2021 April, May to like December of 2021, I was getting nowhere with this, and I was working super fucking hard to figure shit out. I was constantly working on the website that was never launching because it was just not working. I was making videos that were getting 0 views. I was reaching out to people to do workshops, to develop scripts that were like ghosting me or like never following through with meetups or anything like that. And it's very, very frustrating. But the fact that I kept doing it, I'm starting to see like people benefit from it and get something out of it. And same thing with my writing. It's been a minute since I've been able to work on my own stuff. And so now by doing this writing studio, I've kind of reinvigorated myself to like get back on the saddle and start writing my own stuff again. And hopefully those projects will get me like I will see progress from those projects that I've finished writing. And that's basically like where I'm at now. And that's like my Hollywood story. Which, by the way, I've never lived in Hollywood. I live in LA, but I don't live in Hollywood. So it's kind of a fucking bait and switch there. But it's a lot of hard work. I've had some definite moments where I've like, I'm just like, I like feel genuinely like a loser because it's like telling people like, oh, I'm a screenwriter, I do screenwriting. And it's like, you don't have like anything to show for it is like very like, it's tough. But I mean, I know a lot of people, they have their moments. I truly believe I'll have my moment. And even if it's very brief and very like under the radar, like I sell a script for 250,000 or $500,000 and it never gets made, but I made that sell. Like the point I'm trying to make, so I can wrap this up, is that as writers, and obviously anybody who's creative, but primarily us as writers, we're all in the same boat. And we're just trying to get to our destination. Everybody's destination might be a little bit different, but the only way you're going to get there is just by, again, the act of doing. And just by continuing to do what you do best, which is write and commit to this art form, you're going to see progress, you're going to see success, and you have to be appreciative of it regardless of how small or big it is. Because not everybody's going to have that big moment of like, I've, undeniably made it, making millions of dollars, winning an Oscar. But also at the same time, getting there, it's a fleeting moment. Nothing is going to last forever. There are plenty of creatives, plenty of writers who had their big moment and were the art, the sort of darling of the industry, so to speak, and it didn't last. So you have to really just look at it all in perspective. And I'm very appreciative. It's something I've taken a long time to learn over like the last 10 years, but been a lot better at it over the last 5 years. learning to really like appreciate not just what you receive for your work, but also value it with the same value if you had like the big movie that or the big script that made millions of dollars or whatever. And to really understand that like why you're doing this is because it is a passion for you and it is something that fulfills you. And so hopefully in a couple years from now I can make another video like this, and I'm not doing all of these in my room, and we're in a farther place than we were last time. So that's about it. Hope you enjoyed it. I didn't bore you too much.